Hello and welcome to episode 90 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. Thanks for joining us today. We had a fantastic show yesterday talking about the Breeders' Cup pre-entries. And today, I've been looking forward to the show for a long time. We're going to be doing a deep dive, I mean a real deep dive, on almost all or many of the foreign invaders coming in for the Breeders' Cup in a week and a half at Del Mar. Thanks for joining us. Please make sure you subscribe right there in the right-hand corner there. And after you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when new content will arise. You can find me on Twitter. You can see on the name tag at @hkravitz. And also, you can email me hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. A few quick tidbits before we start. The Race Day blog. It's been on fire. It's a great deal. There's the information. You can also look below the video player for information. However, there's something new that I've offered in the last few days on Twitter. I want to offer it once again here on my podcast. If you have not subscribed, again, if you have not subscribed to this podcast and you would like a free, that's right, a free edition for the Breeders' Cup, the Race Day blog for the Breeders' Cup weekend only, all you have to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, only if you have not before. So if you're a new subscriber to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and then you can either email me, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com, with your full name, or if you are on Twitter, you can just send me a DM, a direct message, with your full name and email, and I will send you for free the Race Day blog edition for the Breeders' Cup in a week and a half. However, if you'd like to purchase the Race Day blog for, of course, future references, I'd love for you to purchase the blog. It's a great deal. You can see the information below. As you can see on the ticker below, and also next week, guys, big shows, the big handicapping shows next week. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we will do the Friday Breeders' Cup races. And then Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we will cover the Saturday races, and I have some great surprises for you. I have some surprise guests. I will have jockeys, that's right, live jockeys on the show who will be riding in some of those races. I hope you can join me next Tuesday and Wednesday. We're also going to have fantastic guest handicappers. Some have been on the show before. Some have not been on the show before. It's going to be deep dives with replays and ticket construction, etc., into the races on Friday and Saturday. The Breeders' Cup will be next Tuesday and Wednesday, respectively. You're not going to want to miss it. We already have a ton of people, of course, watching right now already. James is here. James already has a question for our guest, who I'll bring on here in just a moment. So I know my guest is in the background. You've already got a question. He wants to know if our guest, Davy Lane, thinks the Breeders' Cup races at Del Mar was a factor in so many of the better Euros not coming. So there are a lot of issues from Del Mar with the hotter weather, tight turns, etc. So we have a lot of opinions from our guests who will talk about that, James. We'll make sure we cover that. C-Money, we missed you last night. I don't think I heard from you. C-Money, thanks for joining the show. It is time to play. This is a show, folks, I've been waiting for a long time. So as I bring my guest on here in just a minute, I have done, I would say, a good 5-6 hours, folks. 5 to 6 hours on replay watching and doing all the research I can to get a beat on the Euros. And there are a lot of Europeans and some Japanese runners coming as well. But the reason why I have our guest on is because he knows horse racing from Europe like the back of his hand. He's been on before twice. We're going to bring him on right now. He is an expert punter, as they say over in Europe. Punter, handicapper from the UK. He's going to give us some great information and tips on many of the horses coming over from the Breeders' Cup from England. It is 10 o'clock at night. The one and only Davy Lane. Davy, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm well. Good evening, everybody. I'm a bit, let me just say, don't believe the hype, you know. A couple of things just to respond to that, Howard. I do recommend people get on Howard's blog. I have, and I'm 4 figures ahead. I mean, I don't want to sound like you know, I'm not like put on here to advertise it or anything, but I am ahead, and it's down to Howard on those specific Saturday tips. Now, I mean, as again, he brings the fruit to the market. You have to pick the ones out of the baskets. He puts them in the basket. So that's another skill in and of itself. And regarding the Euro thing, there are a lot of different jurisdictions in Europe, and they've all got their own systems and styles on and off the turf. There's price competition with the UK Irish bookies. The French have a pari mutuel. The English have these stamina sapping races. The French have the notorious sort of stroll and sprint. The Germans have the breeding, with no Lasix. I could go on and on. There's a lot of different issues, and actually, and in recent years, as the world has got smaller, I spend as much time dealing with other jurisdictions as I do what's on my doorstep. And it kind of fits into the lifestyle we lead. I watch a lot of Hong Kong, Japanese, and Australian racing because there's a sweet spot in the morning where the home is quiet, I have a pot of coffee, and I can watch now races where in the past I couldn't watch them in the past. So I do a lot of that in the morning and some American stuff in the evening. And a lot of times in Europe during the day, you're pulled in all different directions. You want to be outside during the day. So I think I have a good, the only area I don't feel like I follow very closely is South America, and that's just a big gaping hole. But I kind of keep my eye on all these places. So, I lose more than most, and that's always, people have to remember that. I won a contest on the English TV, and I made some hits sometimes and so on. But the real heavy, hard hitting punters are all out there. I'm not one of those guys. I'm just an amateur guy who enjoys it very much and stumbled into Howard's show. So as it goes, and I gave Howard's biggest winner on his show so far, Royal Ascot. Don't forget that.
Listen, Davey could downplay himself all he wants, but I will say, Davey, honestly, that, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your you know what. I had many people, not only because of by the way, the horse he's talking about is Ray Shoon, 60-1. I think I remember that name forever, Davey. Listen, there's a lot of you said you're up more than 4 figures because of my blog, and I greatly appreciate that. I know many viewers are up 4 figures plus because of Ray Shoon and some other picks you gave us. So we very much appreciate you coming on the show. David Piscopo's here. David, Ray Shoon, you'll never forget Davey. I know David cashed one of our viewers. Davey was David Lane, David Piscopo, who cashed. And C Money bring up a good comment, folks. Please make sure you pound that like button. That's the thumbs up button, because the more you hit that like button on YouTube on my channel, the more that sends out an algorithm for other horse players to come and join the podcast. So C Money, I appreciate that. Before we get into some real quick questions, Davey, about the Breeders' Cup in general with the Euros. How do you think the Breeders' Cup is viewed right now by horse players and punters in the UK? We have almost a record number of European horses coming here to the States. Do you feel like it's growing in terms of the popularity, staying about the same? Obviously, the money and purses are a big issue in the UK right now. So the trainers and horsemen would love to send their horses over to America for the money. But from a UK punter standpoint, can you describe the popularity or interest in the Breeders' Cup?
It's popular, but I don't think it's growing in popularity. I think it's staying pretty much the same. I mean, the UK, not to be critical, but there's a parochial thing like anywhere, and most UK punters are really interested in the steeplechase racing coming up now, the Cheltenham and the Aintree and all of that. So. But those are punters who wouldn't really bet on a race in Ireland or France. They wouldn't, they just bet on No, they wouldn't, right. and they would bet on a race in England, and they bet on a race on the flat, and then when the winter comes, they bet on the race on the jumps, and that's it.
Sure.
And that's most people probably.
Okay. They're very particular.
And that's changing. It's changing because of technology. I would think there's probably more interest among the horse set, among the people, the connections, the trainers, and what have you. Maybe for two reasons. It's post-COVID. America opened up recently, right. For travel. And people want to get out there, so that's probably sparked a bit of interest within the clique of the horse racing community. You know, it's a dying sport around the world in many instances. You know, we went over this on the Arlington
Yeah,
podcast. You know, the first £1 million transfer took place of an English footballer in 19. You know, the roughly the same time the first Arlington Million took place, and now
right.
those players sell for 120 million, and
Yeah.
they're still, you know. So we went over that before. So this is, you know, I would love to tell you it's getting more popular, but I don't think the statistics bear that out. I think what has to happen in the UK, there has to be a branch and root change of how people bet the horses, because the local high streets are now blighted with bookie shops, and they have no grace, and they're just full of fruit machines, and there's just uh, I think the Hong Kong or the French model, or the Australian model, where the betting opportunity is incorporated into the cafe, into the local bar, is something they have to do,
Uh,
because it's dire going into these places, and most people are betting online, and most of the youth who would ordinarily bet racing maybe 20 years ago, they bet soccer now, they bet football.
hmm.
And you know, so this, you know, I'd love to tell you I'd love to tell you otherwise, but I don't think that's the case.
Well, that's interesting. Hope we got to continue to work on the youth, the generation next, etc. Both in Europe and in the States. So, listen, Davey, I
That
felt
said,
that.
it's yeah. That said, it's well attended sport. You know, people do attend, but a lot of drinking and festivities, and it's not really for the horses. So
Wait, drinking and European sports event? Really?
yeah.
Shocking.
That's a
Listen,
whole other discussion.
listen. I want to say publicly, I felt bad last time when you came on for the Million Show or the Mr.
Yeah,
D Stakes, because not only did I have Davey up to the wee hours of the morning, we
yeah,
both expected a lot more Euros to be coming over for that day at Arlington, and there really
yeah,
weren't that many. But folks,
yeah,
this is the sweet spot for Davey and myself, because there are many Euros and a lot that Davey have seen, probably some in person, I'm guessing, and
yeah.
none that I've seen in person. I don't believe. I got to think about that. But we're going to be taking a deep dive. So I've got two quick questions you're going to see on the screen, Davey, about European racing in general and how they might fare at Del Mar, which sort of piggybacks on the question you already had. And then we'll get into specific horses, folks, and we're also going to look at a lot of replays, because Dave and I both believe the visual handicapping is extremely important in this game, and especially for the Breeders' Cup of Del Mar. So there's a bunch of things on the screen, and just very briefly, Dave, because we do want to get to the
Yeah.
horses.
Right.
This is just my opinion,
Yeah.
folks, on some keys to winning at Del Mar if you're European. You have to be able to acclimate to the weather and the climate, the travel and the climate. A
Yeah.
quick burst, I think, is necessary, Davey, because of the uh, and which goes along with handling the tight left-handed
Yeah.
turns. Breaking from the
Yeah.
gate, of course, is important. It's going to be
Yeah.
very firm turf. By the weather is going to be, by the way, great in the next week and a half in San Diego, Davey. It's going to be 70 and sunny in San
Right.
Diego the next week and a half. And then also, I think it's important to have a jockey who understands that this configuration is a short stretch. This is not Keeneland. This is
Yeah.
definitely not Belmont or Arlington. So, of all those things you see on the screen, Davey, is there one you would say is more important than the other?
Yeah. The gate break.
Can you
Yeah.
expound
Clearly.
on that a little bit, please?
Yeah, well, just thinking on it, and I mean, the travel has been revolutionized even in recent years. You almost hear of no stories of horses having trouble or getting sick these days. And even 4 or 5, 6 years ago, you get the occasional story. And now, even when a plane is, you know, laid over at Amsterdam airport on the way to Australia for 10 hours by an inadvertent situation, the horses don't seem to be troubled. So they've got it down pat. They've got it really well done. So I don't think that's the issue. It was touch wood, you know, like that it may have been in the past. So I don't think that's an issue. I didn't quite get what you meant by quick burst. You just mean a sense of
Well, I just, I think it's this way with American turf horses too. Some horses are more, grindy. They're sort of more one pace, Davy.
right.
And
Yeah,
others, once they find that hole, they can really quicken,
yeah,
in
yeah.
certain
Well,
parts of the race. I think the ability to quicken on a
yeah.
tighter turn, a short track is more important than sort of a grindy one paced runner.
I think if you have the horse, the you know, the horses that are coming are going to have that, and I don't really see the issues. There's tight turns at some UK tracks, Chester, for example, and that's not an issue. But the gate break does seem to be the issue. And if I think about what happened at Del Mar the last time the Breeders' Cup was there,
Right.
the horses, the British horses, Irish horses that won, they seem to be quite prominent because they broke pretty well. And I don't recall exactly, but the Wuheda and what have you. I mean, these horses were in like third, fourth, fifth position in like
Mm-hmm.
12, 14 horse races pretty much throughout, and then they just stepped aside and out off they won. So I can recall Breeders' Cups in years prior to that where I bet on a horse and I'm smug thinking, oh, how the hell is this going to lose? And it breaks poorly. And then it's in 11th or 12th position. And I'm like, well, it's the best horse. And the next thing I know, the winning post comes along in no time at all, down the short stretch. And that's
Yeah.
it. I mean,
Well,
one little.
a horse that comes to mind for me, Davey, last year is Tarnawa, right? Tarnawa
Right.
was I'd have to watch the replay again, like second or third to last at the
Yeah.
top of the stretch, and just
Yeah.
came like an absolute train and won for me and hopefully you and a lot of other people at
Yeah.
what was incredible 9-2 last year. But you
Yeah.
cannot come at Del Mar you can't be in last or second to last at the top of the stretch at Del Mar, Davey. You have to make your move on the turn. So that sort of
Right.
leads into my number 6 point there. You have to have a jockey who's going to move a little bit earlier than normal and have to make that move on the turn because you can't wait for the straight
Right.
in order to win the race.
Right, exactly, and that's why jockey bookings are key. I mean, and they're my number one variable when it gets down to it. All cards on the table.
Sure.
And I just heard today that Adaria has Buick has been booked for that, and maybe that was news yesterday, but I only saw it today, and so
Okay.
I'm just scratching around looking for the jockey bookings really. When that really is key for me because if Buick has been taken by that, then it means a horse I like in that race won't have Buick. That means somebody else will be riding, and I'm wondering who, etc., etc., etc. So
Well, we're
we'll
interested
get
to
into
hear
that.
what info and intel you have there with jockeys. So we'll get into that a little bit later. The other question that I think is very important for our U.S. viewers here is the next one on the bottom of the screen. Can you just very briefly, maybe 2 minutes, talk about
Yeah,
speed figures that people might see in past performances here in the States? You're going to
right.
see time form ratings, which I think are very much acceptable everywhere throughout the world. There's also an overall rating that you can find online. And then if
Yeah.
you go to Racing Post, there's a Racing Post rating for the UK horse. Can you just talk a little bit about these three speed figures?
Well, the sets of opinions, aren't they? I mean, Timeform is probably the best because they seem to have a professional niche. There's an office established in a Yorkshire town called Halifax, and they're all up there, and they do a great job. And you subscribe, and you get the information, and it's very good. Um, I personally just look at the handicappers numbers, and I don't really pay much attention to them either. I mean, I recognize it in their opinion. I mean, I think my job is to be ahead of that opinion. That's always the game,
Sure.
isn't it? I mean, you
Oh, we lost Davey's connection there for a second. Hopefully you'll come. Davey, if you can hear me, we've lost your connection. I'll,
did we lose you
there
there?
we did, and now you're back. Go ahead. We lost you about
Yeah.
5 seconds.
All right, that's fine. So for me, that's it's down to it's down to an opinion, and
Sure.
I have to have my own opinion. And if
Yep.
I just rely on these figures and these other opinions, and I know it's a huge thing in American racing, whether you go into the rags and you go into the Bayers and all the rest of it, but you know, you roughly keep it. It's in the periphery and it's sort of ambient there, isn't it? You know the numbers, but you really have to be thinking about what you think the horse can do next, and that
Yeah.
requires you projecting a little bit, making
Of
a
course.
decision based on what you've seen. So, it's a rough guide, but so is the market a rough guide, and so on and so forth.
I was just going to bring that up. So it is betting these races is like the stock market. You have to figure who's going to take that jump up or who might take a step back. So listen, Davey, great conversation. I know you and
Yeah,
I could talk forever about general
yeah,
thoughts, but let's
yeah,
jump into the races because that's what
yeah,
a lot of people are here for to find out. And honestly, I'd say the average American better, just on par,
yeah,
is not very familiar with a lot of these European horses. I think knuckleheads like myself, take deep dives into these races. And listen, folks, there are seven. I counted seven Breeders' Cup races this weekend out of the 14. So half the races are going to have several Euros in them. So unless you're going to avoid half the races in Breeders' Cup weekend, you have to familiarize yourself with these horses because it's going to be an integral part of your betting. So
right.
Davey and I did talk a little bit, folks, but you have to understand we both have full-time jobs. He's across the world, so to speak. So if we have a few minor technical glitches or just some organizational issues, bear with us. What we're going to do here, and Davey, I have literally, I'm looking at my monitor on the right. I literally have about 25 separate little 25-second clips of horses, and Davey knows in general the races we're going to talk about, but I'm not sure he knows exactly which horses we're going to talk about first. So, Davey, well, here's what we're going to do, sir. You're going to see a name at the bottom of this screen. You'll know the race. You'll see a name at the bottom of the screen to give
Right.
yourself a little chance to know what horse we're going to talk about. We'll bring up the
Okay.
video and then we'll talk about it. I do have past performances, folks, but switching back and forth between the past performances and the video is sort of a pain on my end, folks. So we're not going to have a lot of past performances. You will see that next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. What I want to do tonight is get great intel from Davey and watch a lot of videos and replays. So,
Right.
Davey, we are going to start with the Juvenile Turf. So, the Juvenile
Right.
Turf, the males. And
Okay.
again, on the bottom of the screen, folks, you're going to see the horse that we're going to talk about in order. So, the first horse, and Davey, I'll just let you talk a little bit, just very maybe 20
Yeah.
seconds about each horse, and then we'll show a video that I have. It might not be the video that you are
Yeah.
aware of or wanted to show, but I know you know
Yeah.
these horses very well.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
there are several contenders in the Juvenile Turf, the males, and right now I believe the anti-post betting favorite out there in the UK, Davey, correct me if I'm wrong, is a horse called Modern Games, one of two for Charlie Appleby.
Yes, it is, and it's a pretty warm favorite. Five
What
to
number? What are
two.
you getting out there right now?
I think it's moved out to 11-4, but it was 5-2 prior to that.
Okay,
Um,
talk a little
uh,
about Modern Games for us.
well, there's something interesting. The trainer made a comment at Charlie Appleby. I thought it was quite fascinating because Albar, his stablemate, you have to look at what he's doing. Appleby, he's sending horses just to 3 races. He's in his wheelhouse and he's going with 2 in each race. He's clearly plotting some. He's not throwing spaghetti at the wall here. Um, and he made a comment about his other horse in that race, the Gelding. He said his horse will enjoy getting knocked around. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And I came to the conclusion it was code for that his gelding is going to be running interference for modern games, riding
Hmm.
shotgun, if you will. Uh, and, the superior 2-year-old in Britain this year is one of their stablemates called Native Trail. And, this is to see if there's a horse as good as that horse, or if it's the sort of the prince to the king, or the soon to be king. And that's what we have to look at. Is Appleby setting the race up to have one of his horses take care of any ride shotgun, as I said, and clear the way for modern games. So
Well, let's
uh,
talk about this is Modern Games in the Tattersall Stakes. You folks look very carefully at the screen. You'll see a little arrow. You can see that arrow that on the screen right now. He's in the blue Godolphin there. This horse shows a lot of early speed. I'll just let this play through to the end, Dave. You can talk about Modern
yeah,
Games a little bit. A front
yeah,
runner.
yeah,
So let me
yeah,
turn this down.
yeah,
Go ahead.
right, yeah. I mean, I mean, it's quite difficult to compare it to what's coming at Delmar because it's such a wide open space, and Delmar is going to be narrow track. But you look at the head carriage of the horse, and he's just biting the ground. He wants more and more of it, and he keeps going through the line, which is a good thing too. And look at the space between what's coming behind him. Um,
And
you know
galloped out
this
well. Looks like distance won't be a problem either. You see him on the gallop out as well.
yeah, and he's bred. He's a Dubawi and a new approach. He's regally bred. He's got the top jockey. I'm sure Buick will be riding this horse. I mean, it's the horse to beat. It's the horse to beat for sure. Yeah.
I know it's very hard for you to answer this question, but does your gut feeling tell you that he's quick enough to break from the gate and get the lead against other American horses? Does he need the lead to win, do you think?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, it depends on the draw. I mean,
Sure.
if he's drawn wide, I mean, I'm not sure what Buick's going to do. I think he needs. I mean, it'll be more difficult. I think when the draw comes out, and if he's drawn, let's say, in a sweet spot between, say, 2 and 8, his price will go back down to 5-2 and close to 2-1. If he's drawn 8 till 12 or something like this, you might see 11-4, 3-1, and that will be a function of the draw. Uh, um, yeah,
Yeah, he's going to be sorry. Go ahead. It'll be interesting. There's two other horses that we need. Listen, folks. We're not going to show you every replay from every Euro. We'll be here. Davey would be here till 2 in the morning his time. I'd be
right.
here. We'd be here for 3 hours. So we just want to show
Yeah,
you little clips just to give you some ideas. The next clip we're going to pull up. I'm going to put it up right now. Again, everyone, bear with me. I've got everything
yeah,
planned out, but I'm my
yeah,
own. As you guys know, I'm the producer, editor. Got a lot of things going on. We are. This is going to be Dubawi, Legend, and Gloon Thon, which
right.
you emailed me and said or you sent me Twitter saying you were a little bit surprised that that the Aidan O'Brien horse, the Gloon Thon, I believe it's pronounced, was in. Dubawi Legend. This is the Dewhurst, and
Right.
this is you're going to see the best 2-year-old in Europe who is not coming, by the way, in
Right.
the blue here, right here. You already mentioned his name. Right
Right.
here on the lead, folks, you can see there on the right side of the screen. That is Dubawi Legend, who is in the lead. This is another horse that shows speed. And
Yeah.
Gloon Thun is back a little bit hard to see, a little further back, had a very bad stumble, which you're not going to see. Had a
Right.
very bad stumble in the race and ends up finishing sixth. But you probably want to focus more on Dubawi Legend here as I run the tape. Go ahead, Davey.
Yeah, I mean, this at this point the horse looked like it was the winner, didn't it? Really, there's a rise, there's a steep ground, and that's when that's when he was collared by Native Trail. So kept going well, but this is the threat to Appleby. And there's a game within a game here because that horse was ridden by James Doyle, who's a good he's a Godolphin rider. So and when you get back to jockey bookings, you really have to see does Doyle have to take the ride on the shotgun horse, the gelding? Does he have to and then does he have to give up a horse that potentially could be the best horse in Europe next year? This could be the Derby winner next year. This Dubawi horse. So I mean, there's the game, and maybe he has to ride the second string for Appleby, and then Frankie Dettori pops up, and Frankie Dettori's then on the horse. I mean, as for O'Brien, he has Luxembourg, which he's not bringing. So, again, the Godolphin and the Coolmore guys, they've not bringing their two best horses. This always seems to be the pattern, which is a pity because that sort of, at some level, it cheapens the Breeders' Cup for some people. The best horse hasn't come, this kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, very selfishly, since it's the first time I'm going to a Breeders' Cup, I'm a little disappointed that some of the top Euros aren't coming. But listen, it's not as if Modern Games and Dubawi Legend are a bunch of garbage. I mean, those are very good horses. Janet mentioned, P-Val. Janet was really good out of the gate,
yeah,
and
yeah,
gate on the gate is huge. Mike is here. Mike, thank you very much. I think you were on the show last night watching. Really appreciate that.
yeah.
Um, Last question
Can you?
before we move on,
Go
Davey.
on.
I'm sorry. Modern
Yeah.
Games versus Dubawi Legend. Heads up for the American bettors, especially. Who do you think? Who do you recommend they take if they have to have a choice of the two? In your opinion,
I would go. I would take Modern Games. Yeah, yeah,
I would tend
but
to
yeah,
agree with you.
yeah,
It's gonna be interesting to see who gets the lead because it's rare, Davey, that you see a Euros come over with a lot of really good early speed that can sustain it. So I'm
yeah.
fascinated to see what the draw looks like and how aggressive their jockeys are and
This,
etc. But they both have a realistic chance.
yeah, there was some very good chances, and I think Buick he's won at Del Mar. He knows what's up. The penny has dropped, but I think with the European riders on that. So they've seen Wesley Ward come to Royal Ascot and be like Chicago blocks ahead of like the rest of the field by the first furlong, right? What happened there? They've seen it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and 10 years ago they hadn't seen that. And I think
Sure.
UK riders were going to the Breeders' Cup and they were smug. They thought they were on the best, and then they got their comeuppance. But I think they figured it out now. Uh,
L-
there's one other horse in here, Great Max, and I don't think that has much of a chance.
Yeah.
Its maiden win was like the horse that won the race. That came, sorry, second in the race, was kind of like idling in front, and I don't know why. I don't know why it's there. I mean, there's a few suspect entries that I don't see the point of them, so I don't rate that at all. So for me, it's a two-horse race from the Euros, and then you've got the three American probably ones that you could talk about. Well, we don't need to get into those, but maybe it's
No.
a five-horse race. But yeah,
Yeah. We shall see. Let's move on to the juvenile fillies. I know there's a horse that you think is very interesting, and the horse you can see on the bottom of the screen. The juvenile fillies can be a full field. There are several Euros in there. I'm just
yeah,
switching my own.
yeah,
Sorry, I apologize. I'm trying to find. Okay, there we go. Uh, let's talk about this horse. And I've been working my pronunciation. I believe it's Mison Sen. How did I do?
yeah,
Close enough?
yeah.
I don't
But
know. Been
so,
working on my accents. Yeah, I'm sure
but
you're gonna say it perfectly. Uh,
no, it's good, perfect. Yeah, yeah,
we're gonna watch the replay here from Goodwood here in just a second. I'm gonna pull up as I bring up the replay. Talk about this horse in the juvenile fillies turf.
right. Well, when I flagged this particular video for you, what maybe you interpreted it as me thinking this was going to be the horse I wanted to win, or I was playing to win, or I thought would win, and maybe that's so. But more in my mind was that this is the kind of horse that in the past I would have done all of those things, had all of those thoughts, and I'm sort of seasoned enough now to know this is the actual horse that looks like the best horse and has a great late run and never quite gets there because the stretch is too short. No matter how much the penny is dropped with the jockeys, they just come up a buck short, so to speak. And this to me is an example of that, because you see the horse building up its engine and
Right.
coming and getting there. But guess what? The winning post is long past by the time the horse is motored up. So I think it's
Well,
important to watch this.
I
You
noticed
know,
in two. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dave. I noticed in 2017 you mentioned Wahida, who won the
yeah,
Philly and Mare Turf, but that was a much longer race. These shorter races, the mile and 16th that they're going to be running in the
yeah,
juvenile, there were many Euros that just couldn't quite get there in 2017. They'd finish second,
yeah,
third, fourth, making big late runs, but just
yeah.
not getting there. I'm interested to see, Davey, if the trainers and jockeys have learned a little bit from their 2017 experience,
Right.
which was the first time that the Breeders' Cup was at Del Mar. But Miss Unseen, folks, is this horse in the red? It's the number 6 horse. I'll let you just talk through. She makes a big late run to get up.
Right, right. Well, there's a cutaway here, and that's a relatively recent addition to UK tracks, and it's good. It stops horses getting trapped in. The horse comes out, but it doesn't pick up right away. Murphy's encouraging it, gives it a bit more encouraging. Uh, so it needs a bit of a long stretch. Now it's getting there. Now it's getting there. But my God, it's still getting there. It's getting there, and it keeps going away. But you know, that's not good enough for Del Mar, is it?
No,
Uh,
longer sustained runs. If Mison Scene is going to have to, if she's going to make the same run, it's going to have to be before the turn to make that kind of
yeah,
run. And so
exactly.
the
So
question, that's why I brought up the agility and the quickness. Does she have that quicken, to make
yeah,
the quick burst around a turn, or is she just more of these longer sustained runs? I don't think are going to work quite as well at Del
yeah.
Mar.
I think it's the latter, unfortunately. Even though I like
Right.
the horse and I wanted to believe it's the horse, and so on. You also have to look at the connections. I mean, they sponsored a lot of money into the Breeders' Cup recently, the Qataris, and they like to have the horses running, and even if it runs, a gallant second or third or fourth. I mean, they
Sure.
want to win, but until it loses, they don't believe it's going to lose, and so this is one of those things for me that in the past I would have played this in an amateur kind of way, and now I'm kind of a lot more careful about it. And that replay shows that. That's the energy. That's the tension I wanted to show. I think.
Let's
You
talk
know.
about two others that are in this race. Hello You and Cachet.
Yeah.
This is a race they ran together in the Rockfell Stakes. This was a group
Right.
two. Now you're gonna see on the out again, folks. We can't show you the whole replay of 30 races, so I just want to give you
Right.
tidbits. But this is important to look at. Cachet, who I think you and I would agree probably has a very small chance in
Yeah.
this race, is right
Yeah.
here, folks, in second place on the
Yeah.
outside. The horse that is more well fancied for the Breeders' Cup would be this
Yeah.
horse right here in purple behind Hello You, who's the
Right.
4. So keep your eye here on the 4 that's sort of in the pocket ends up
Right.
winning this race. And you could talk about these two horses, Davey.
Right. Well, first we'll take the first one you said first, Cachet. That was announced it was coming a few days ago. You have to look at the ownership for that. It's Highclere Thoroughbreds. I mean, I don't know these guys, but when I generally see them, I mean, if you ever in the States have ever seen Downton Abbey, the people living in Downton Abbey, I mean, there would be characters like this. And this is what we call in the English game a jolly. These guys are probably want their horse. They want to go to Del Mar. They've been locked up in their homes for the last year and a half, and they want to go to the beach and drink champagne cocktails. And you can't blame them.
No.
And it's a syndicate, and I don't know who. There's various people probably own it, and it's a nice horse, but I don't see it being the winner.
There's Hello
Where,
You. Sorry, Hello You just won. Here's Cachet
right.
right there.
Right.
Right.
And it's a superior horse, Hello You, and it's unfashionable in terms of the jockey and trainer, but it's an up and coming jockey and an up and coming trainer. It's one of those horses that you might get overs over in the States on that horse because of that, because there's not an O'Brien, because there's not an Appleby.
Right. And
So
I think one theme that Davey just touched on, and again, folks, if you have any questions, comments, I know a lot of these horses, no pun intended, are
yeah,
foreign to the viewers that are watching right now.
yeah,
But if you have any questions for specifically for Davey about
yeah.
any of these European horses or just European racing in general, feel free. Davey is feeling real better. By the way, Davey, do you want to tell people real quick why
Oh
there's
yeah,
bandages? People might see
yeah,
the
yeah.
bandages. You're playing hurt today.
I'm playing her. Yeah, I'm like Tom Brady here. Yeah, I'm reading the play-by-play on the wrist. I had an accident with a scalding situation. I burnt my wrist and the hand. The hand was all the hand. Well, maybe you can see some of the
Ooh.
the marks.
Don't put it
But
too close to the camera. We don't want to lose viewers, Davey.
okay, well, yeah, I'll get those taken off tomorrow. It's just a few
Well,
blisters and a few things.
we're,
So yeah, I was
we're
in a bit of pain. Yeah, I
yeah,
was in a bit of pain.
I really want to thank you for sticking it out. We really do appreciate
No,
that. We're sorry that happened.
no worries.
Let's go to the Breeders' Cup. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you
No,
want
we
to
got
mention?
one more. There's one more horse in the race, one more Euro, and it's Malavat. And it won recently, but in a bunch finish and so on. It's got no chance. So I just wanted to make sure people were aware of that.
And you
Uh,
also so Malavath Davies against a horse that was going to come. You mentioned to me, I think it was today, Zane Claudette. You said
that's
is
out.
out, which will
Yeah.
bring in a Chad Brown horse. We'll talk more about this on Tuesday. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's out. I mean, as I said to you online earlier. I mean, I always love to bet the reserves in a race. Because the market doesn't adjust. And even in a situation like this, not to sound conspiratorial, but this is how the world works in some respects. It's a Chad, I don't want to accuse anything of anything, but if you've got a horse that isn't in the race and it's got a really good chance, and this horse might have. I mean, I was very impressed with its last race. That you might get on the phone and say, listen, we can do a deal down the road. Are you ready to jump out? I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm sure those kind of things have happened in the past. Uh, you know.
Absolutely.
Uh, so not to point at anyone, but so I think I will be betting the horse that came in on the reserve as well on this race, but
Okay.
that's another story. Yeah.
All right, folks, let's jump to the juvenile sprint. Now, Davey, the juvenile sprint has been owned by a trainer that I'm sure you've heard of, a gentleman named Wesley Ward, who's got a lot of very fast horses. Europeans in general have struggled in this race, Davey, the 2-year-old race.
Right.
And there's really two reasons that I think. Number one reason is just the Americans in general are bred to be quicker and more precocious earlier on than some of the Euros. A lot of them, train up for the Guineas when they're 3 years old and whatnot. So a lot of the Euros are not really pointed to these quick 5, 6 furlong 2-year-old
Right.
races. Number one, and then number two, which we've touched on before, is many of when you look at the PPs, folks, of these of the juvenile turf sprint, almost all these Euros have run on straight courses. Very few of them have gone around a bend in their career. And just, of
Right.
course, naturally, that's very difficult. I mean, can you imagine a horse for the first time going around a sharp left-hand turn
Yeah.
against, 12 other horses on a firm
Yeah.
turf? That's really a
Yeah.
lot to ask, Davey, isn't it?
Yeah. So it really is. It's a whole other ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. However, that
Yeah.
being said, I think there are some talented horses that are
Yeah.
coming for the juvenile sprint that we're going to talk about. So the
Well,
first race that we're going to talk about, it's a good race to mention. I have two horses up here, but there's actually another horse that let me actually see if I can. I'm going to fix this right now. There's another horse in this race. I'm typing as we speak.
yeah.
There are three horses. There we go. There are three horses in this race I'm going to show. Armor, Go Bears Go, and Twilight Jet. And
Right.
Davey, this is like a replay special for me because I love watching horses, several horses coming out of the same race. That doesn't equate necessarily to knowing exactly what's going to happen the next time, but you do have a feeling, for what they look like and how their style, etc. This is the Middle Park Stakes I'm going to bring up. And again, briefly talk about these three horses, Davey, as I bring up the replay.
Right. Okay. Well, you've got. Let me just see where they are. You've got Armour, which is well. There's a story behind that one. I mean, that's a Al Shakab horse, another Qatari horse, a different Qataris than the Qatar racing. If people want to make sure this is silver and so on, and the silks. Let me see where that is right now. It's a small. I think in Goodwood it romped to a victory in Goodwood. It's a smaller horse.
Yeah,
Ran,
armor is this gray, this horse in gray with the red cap right back here, Davey,
right. Right.
on the
Right.
inside.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
I'm not.
yeah.
I won't run. I'll let you talk about these horses first, and then I'll run the video.
Okay, so then you've got Go Bears Go, which seems to have ran its best race earlier in the year, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure why it's there. It's just 5 furlongs seems too short for it. It's really just,
Okay.
it seems to be, again, it seems to be when you hear the trainer speaking that the owners wanted to do this and wanted to go there, and
This
often the
is Go
trainer,
Bear. So this is Go
yeah.
Bears Go right here. It's actually already under the whip a little bit in second as we're going to start the video. Go ahead.
Yeah, and trainers do give tips to punters. They know punters play with their money and so on, and they do let them know that, I've got owners and they want to go see the horse run. And they put that parenthetically there for people to hear. And if you follow the sport, if you follow the comments, this is important. It's just as important as reading the form as what a trainer says. And generally they're they can be very honest and upfront about it. And after a while, you get to know which ones aren't. You get to know which ones are sort of boasting one way or another, and you get to rule out. You get to block them out. But you generally listen to what they say. And when he's saying his owners wanted to go there, that's to me is code for keep away.
Interesting. I
Don't
agree.
don't
Uh,
play to win. All right. So, and finally, we have Twilight Jet. Now that horse has run. I think I flagged Twilight Jet to you and
yes.
Quick Susie at Royal Ascot because they were Irish horses that went from the huge stables that were coming over, and something was afoot. And of course, quite Quick Susie, she had been bought by American owners, but lo and behold, even though it was a Cromwell, the trainer, does a lot of jumps horses in Ireland. Lo and behold, it beat the unbeatable Wesley Ward horse, didn't it, at Royal Ascot on the fast ground? So,
Yes.
um,
So the Twilight, there's two Twilights in this race. Don't get confused, folks.
yeah, yeah,
Twilight Jet is this horse right here who is on the lead. It's a little hard to tell with the angle, but along the running rail there on the lead. And by the way, Nick Luck was on a podcast through In the Money Media
yeah,
recently, and he thinks, just for the record, folks, and listen, what does Nick Luck know? This is Davy Lane.
right.
Just kidding, Nick Luck. You're the best,
Yeah,
buddy. But anyway, Davey, Nick thinks that Twilight Jet is probably the best Euros chance in this race. That's what he said because he thinks this horse is fastest early and is more of a 5 furlong specialist. I'm going to go ahead and you can
right.
comment off that as I go ahead and run the tape here.
Yeah, well, Twilight Jet's interesting for Americans to get their head around because it's ran 12 times this year. I mean, come on, for
Yeah,
for a 2-year-old.
that's a
I mean,
lot.
a lot of the American horses have ran what 3 times, 4 times, what
Now I'm
something like
going to
this.
freeze it right here, right? So again, this is Twilight Jet on the lead. Go Bears Go, who Davey does not believe have much of a chance of starting to fade. Here's
Yeah,
Armor there in the gray with the red cap
yeah,
making a move. The winner is going to be in yellow, who's Perfect Power, who's probably the best 2-year-old
yeah,
sprinter in Europe and
yeah,
has a chance to make some noise next year as a 3-year-old. So the
yeah,
fact that
yeah.
these horses lose to Perfect Power, there's really no shame in that, Davey, is there?
Not at all. I mean, I was preparing to speak about Perfect Power, but I kind of knew that, with that thing you're saying with Luxembourg and what have you, that maybe the top horses don't actually come, which is unfortunate. But yeah, again, he's the best horse, and the rest of them are in a bit of a bunch there.
Yeah,
Um,
so Armor looks to be the best closer. I know we have to just speculate here, but Is it possible, Davey, that Armour can close on Delmar's turf course and get up? I mean, would you be shocked if he won?
I wouldn't be because I think he's a smaller horse, and I think what you're talking about, the turns and the balance, would be he'd be okay with that.
I'm just going to go ahead and show the last seconds again if you just want to talk about. Go ahead and continue. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it, I have a feeling this horse could be live. I mean, there's one thing about the trainer, Richard Hannon. His father had a lot of trouble when he came to the Breeders' Cup a few years ago and got very angry about Americans in general. He said a lot of nasty things because they wouldn't let him train his horses at the track at a certain time. And this is really like Britain's premier like domestic trainer. And he wasn't coming to the Breeders' Cup because he had an incident. And the Hannons don't really travel horses, not even to Dubai, not even that much to, maybe occasionally to Ireland and to Deauville and Paris, but they're not travelers. So for this horse to travel and win would be saying something. A lot of trainers do know how to travel horses. I mean, they know how to put heat lamps in there to get them ready for the warm climates. So, there's a lot of things they do, and maybe that's not Hannon's game. So you have
By
to
the
think
way,
of,
that last race, do you know if that was 5 or 6, Davey? I don't have it written down. I apologize. The maybe you know by the name.
yeah, that would have been 6.
That was
The
6.
middle,
So again, folks, that's a full furlong longer. So Twilight Jet, only has to go 5 in the Breeders' Cup. So just if you're thinking,
yeah,
well, I can't, Twilight Jet's just gonna fade. Well, listen, that was 6 furlongs, folks, and is that uphill at all, or is that straight there at that particular track you just saw?
yeah, you go uphill at that point at that place, yeah,
So that's a
and
very what the Euros call a stiff 6 furlongs. So folks, that's really more like a 7 here on the flat. So again,
yeah,
distance won't be a problem, I don't think, for Twilight Jet. Now here's the other horse you mentioned, and Tom Espinoza. I see your question. I'll bring it up here. Actually, let me bring up Tom's question, Davey, before I show. Tom's
okay,
question wants to know about Quick Susie. That it was 6 furlongs too far, and your thoughts on cutting back. Before you answer that question, let's watch the video here. Twilight Gleaming. Now, this is Twilight Gleaming. This is a Wesley Ward horse who's in this race, who is very quick. Sorry, I
right,
shouldn't say quick. Is fast, right
right,
here. And Quick Susie is, I believe, right. Sorry, I think it's right here is the 19 horse. I think Quick Susie's going to win this race. And I'm drawing a blank if Quick Susie is on the inside of the. Do
yeah,
you know
she's
which?
on the inside, yeah, on the
Okay,
rail,
she's getting the rail run. I apologize. This is Quick
yeah,
Susie right here. This is Twilight Gleaming. This was
yeah,
in the Queen Mary Stakes there at
Royal
Ascot. Go ahead,
Ascot, yeah.
Davey.
Yeah. Well, this was, it would have been Frankie Dettori riding for, and he was probably smug, thinking he couldn't lose because Wesley told him he couldn't lose. And there's a horse trained by an Irish jumps trainer coming on his inside, owned by Americans, and whips him. And look at the distance. Really,
That's
that's a
pretty
good winning
handily, I would
margin.
say, going 5. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
that's not a small
yeah,
margin.
yeah.
It might look
That's a
small, but I don't think it's really. I'll just go ahead and watch it again for people to get a sense. Oh, sorry, I want to pull that back a little
you
bit.
also have to realize that everything that happened in between this race and the Breeders' Cup for these particular owners was kind of like neither here nor there. It was all building up to this. So, that this race was a bonus. They bought this horse to bring it to the Breeders' Cup. I mean, so yeah, it's a live horse like Twilight Jet. I mean, I really couldn't split them or Armour. I mean, it's a 5 furlong sprint. I mean, I'm not going to be. I don't have the crystal ball on that one. I think it's going to be very close. I mean,
Charles Blaha, appreciate Charles being on this. Charles throwing a little pedigree. I love it. Danehill and elusive quality. Those are pretty good bloodlines to have. Correct, Davey?
yeah. I mean, I've actually got my notes here, and I have I have a very sort of system here, and I like to get things into a spreadsheet, and I like to get the colors out and take a bit of time and transcribe things, and it's my way of just it's my way of looking at things that I hate after the race, or in the past, not to have realized that, oh my God, that horse was bred. That horse was the sire of the dam was, like King Mambo in its firm ground. And I didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't know that, because you get, you get so many things thrown at you. You forget. So even though I like to concentrate on the obscure intangibles and the variables, I think it's very important to keep the main variables like front and center and not lose track of them. Don't forget who's the best jockey. Don't forget who's the best sire for the turf. And you don't want to be looking at a 12-1 Joel Rosario winning the race, and it's got a King Mambo on the damp side in the sire, and you're like, well, how did I miss that?
Yeah.
So you've got to flag these things, and you've got to not lose sight of them.
Listen,
And not yeah.
no, I'm sorry. So we're gonna go ahead. I don't mean to cut you off, David.
Yeah.
We got lots of. I know you have great intel. We got to get some other replays here. So folks,
Right.
the Juvenile Turf Sprint. I don't know if I'll be betting the race. As I think Davies, and many of our listeners know, I've been able to qualify for the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. It's the biggest live money tournament in the world. It's a 10,000 seat that I've won. I start with 7,500 live money dollars.
Yeah.
I do have to bet 3 of the 5 juvenile races on Friday, Davey. I really don't
Yeah.
think I'm going to bet the turf sprint. I'm not a fan of turf sprints, and it's just not the kind of race I think I would actually wager on from a
Yeah.
contest point of view. But
Yeah.
Davey, there's a lot of very fast Americans. There's a horse called One Timer who's for Larry Rivelli, a guy you might have heard of before,
Yeah.
who
The
has a
Chicago
very
trainer.
fast horse, a Chicago guy. Anyway, there's a
Yeah.
lot of speed in this race. It's hard for me to believe
Yeah.
that one of the horses we've talked about, even like a Quick Susie, is
Yeah.
faster early than some of the
Yeah.
Americans. But a horse like Quick Susie might be able to, sit that perfect stalking trip and be good enough to go by, and then Armour would be closing. You would say Quick Susie and Armour would be the two you'd be most interested in that race. Is that correct?
And Twilight Jet. I wouldn't.
And
I
Twilight
wouldn't.
Jet too. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't see Wesley Ward losing it with Averly Jane in this myself. But I mean,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't be playing the race
Okay.
just
Yeah.
myself. Yeah,
Averly Jane is a complete freak. She's really
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah,
Again, folks, we're gonna on Tuesday's show, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're gonna be going through the handicapping. Now, for everyone, full disclosure for everyone, I'm a full-time school teacher. I walked in literally 10 minutes before the podcast starts. Davey, if you or myself need a quick 2-minute break, we're gonna be allowed to take one. I'm good right now. I'm sure you're good right now. But we
yeah.
might just, folks, FYI, might take a very short break because we
Okay.
are going to be talking, I would say, until approximately 6:30, somewhere around there, Eastern Standard Time, everyone. So
Right.
we'll be going another probably good 40 minutes because now we need to get into the Saturday races, which,
Yeah.
frankly, Davey, I think in general, the American bettors are going to be more interested in the Saturday races
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
two-year-old races are just tricky at times. So
Yeah.
instead of
Exactly.
me babbling, let's get into it. Davey, the
Yeah.
first race we're going to talk about on Saturday is the sprint. It's a turf sprint. Now, last year, great story. A young up and coming trainer from Europe won this race last year with a
Right.
horse called Glass Slippers, who won at a price from Europe. But again, that was 5.5 furlongs at Keeneland with a
Yeah.
longer stretch.
Right.
This gentleman, and you can talk about the trainer in just a minute of Glass Slippers and 2 others that we're going to be talking about, is coming here full bear again with some horses. We're going to go ahead and look at, as I bring up some names here, we're going to
Yeah.
look at a Case of You and Glass Slippers race. This is going to be the Flying Five Stakes. This is one of the bigger 5 furlong stakes at in Europe. Talk a little bit
Yeah.
about these two horses, Davey.
Right. Okay. So you have an unfashionable trainer trains a case of you, and Glass Slippers, as we all know about. Now, Glass Slippers would have made the trip over to Ireland for this race, which not everyone does. It's an Irish trainer, but he's based in Yorkshire, Kevin Ryan. And I have to remind myself. I have to remind myself of what happened in this race. But I think Case of You was just nailed on the line, wasn't it?
Yeah, Case of
And
You is the number 3 horse. He's going to finish second on the outside.
that's right.
I'll
Yeah.
roll it
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
in a minute. And Glass Slippers is on the inside. I think this horse here, the 9, who ends up finishing behind him. We'll go ahead and roll the video. Again, a Case of You is going to finish second in this race.
Yeah.
Glass Slippers is going to finish, I believe, third.
Right, and the horse that wins Romantic a Proposal, I wasn't sure if that
Yes.
was coming or not, but by a sprint specialist trainer, Ed Lynham. Yeah, it's a bit fuzzy there. I'm just trying to see what's happening. I mean, a
Yeah, I'm,
lot
I'm going
going
to take it
on.
back a little bit so we can
No,
see.
no, no, no.
So
There's a lot going on, but you know, that's it's not so emphatic. I mean, it
Actually,
really
it's
is.
the eight. Sorry. So this is. I'm sorry to interrupt, just so the viewers. I'll tell you what. I'm going to take us off the screen so we can see a little
Yeah,
better. They can hear us. So again, I'm going to roll it back. A Case of You is the 3 horse right here. I was sorry.
yeah.
Glass Slippers is actually not the 9s, the 8
It's
here
the
on the
eight.
inside.
Case of You is the 3 horse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll take it
yeah,
back again,
yeah.
and we'll see if we can pick up where they are here, Davey. Uh,
Right.
a Case of You is. Let's see. I had it written
Then it should be in the grey.
right
It
here,
should,
I
it should,
believe. Right here.
yeah, that's it. That's it.
This
Yeah.
is a Case of You. So really not that far back. Glass
Right.
Slippers is right here.
On the rail. Yeah, yeah.
We'll go
So
ahead and
you
let it
can,
run. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, you can roll it now, and I this the horse that won the race was like a big price. What was he? The 16 to 1 or something.
Hmm.
Um, but a Case of You with that in that race was like a big outsider, like 33 to 1 or something like this,
Hmm.
or 20 to 1 or something. So that was unexpected, and that catapulted the horse into the Breeders' Cup conversation, because they then went to France, to Paris, and they won, and they realized they're the winner you're in. So this is coming late to the scene, really. Very unfashionable trainer, young Irish jockey, not people know about, but a good horse, a horse I like. I mean, and the horse has an entry in Hong Kong. The only horse in the Breeders' Cup Sprint that has a subsequent entry over into Hong Kong for their international meeting in December is this horse.
Hmm.
And I like that. One of the intangibles I like to play, when I hear a horse has been sold to the breeding sheds and this, that, and the rest, or it's its last race. I mean, I often give up on that. To me, it's not a hard and fast thing, but it's not a work in progress. There isn't more to come. There isn't more like that you can project upwards. So I think with the Case of You, there is more to come. There is things they're thinking about. Obviously, the Hong Kong entry could be an insurance policy in case something happens to the horse, etc. I think it's in with a chance to be in that close in that particular race, and then to go and win in Paris despite the ground. And some of its earlier races, it has good form on
Yeah.
good ground. So
And I
I
will say
wouldn't rule it
Glass
out.
Slippers, I think we're going to go ahead and move on from those two. But
Yeah,
Davey, I think, and again, folks, you'll see the PPs. I think Glass Slippers is slightly worse than she was last year. I don't think
yeah,
she's that horse. Sorry, not she. It's a boy, I believe. I apologize. Is
yeah,
that is
yeah,
that a
yeah.
filly or is it a colt? I'm sorry. Glass Slippers.
Glass Slippers is it sounds like it's going to be a filly, but it's not.
I apologize.
You know.
So I don't think
Oh yes,
he's
it
in
is.
as
Sorry, it's a mare. Yeah, it's a mare. Sorry.
it is a mare. Okay, I don't think
Yeah,
she's in
yeah.
as good form as she was last year, Davey.
She's not.
She's
She's
not that
not.
far off, but just not quite the same. The horse that
Yeah,
I'm really interested in, Davey, in terms of the Euros in the turf sprint, if you want to go with one, is this one.
yeah.
Amirati Anna, who again, that sounds like a female. This is a male horse.
Right,
This is the other, again, this is the same guy that trains A Case of You, correct?
right. And he's
Okay,
doing an app. He's doing an Appleby. He's coming like the.
yeah.
He's coming double barreled here, isn't he?
I'm going to go full screen. This horse you can't miss is in the yellow here and black. This is
Yeah,
the Betfair Sprint Cup. I believe this was a 6 furlong race, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you
yeah.
can tell us if you have the PPs in front of you. I don't have them in front of me. But this horse look is in really good form and just might be the one that can close him down late as I run the video here.
Yeah. Well, there's a few things that you remember. This is big time connections too. I mean, this is the cousin of Sheikh Mohammed of Godolphin. These connections. So, and a top jockey in Atsini. So, and he's booked, and it's been long established that he was travelling for the race. So, yeah, he beat Starman here, which was a horse that people were hoping were going to come, but it had a little injury and it's been retired to the breeding sheds. And it just beat him. This horse Starman is known for problems in the paddock before races. He gets coltish, he gets excited, but he was a great horse. But they both beat everything else pretty convincingly there. I
Yeah.
thought.
And again, that
Uh,
race was 6. So if you're thinking, folks, well, Amirati Anna can't handle the 5, he was getting tired. That was 6 furlongs. And
yeah,
so if you roll back to the beginning of the video, which I'm not going to show again, I mean, he was in the
right,
lead at the 5 furlong mark. So, I
yeah,
don't think this horse is like a dead closer. I think he's got some tactical speed.
right, and that was good to play.
I don't think the American Turf sprinters this year are anything special. And we're going to talk more on Wednesday, folks, but Golden Pal, a horse I know you know. who ran
yeah,
in Europe last year, a horse that has a lot of buzz here in the United States. I am totally against Golden Pal for Wesley
yeah,
Ward in this
yeah,
race. I don't think he's much faster than a lot of these. I think he
yeah,
has to have the lead. I think if a horse like Amaretiana gets the right post and breaks well, I see no reason why this horse can't be a factor. I usually avoid turf sprints in terms of from a betting standpoint, Davey. This one
yeah.
at like maybe 6, 7, 8 to 1, I could be very interested in.
Yeah, yeah, I don't blame you. The American horses look very average. I mean, Gear Jockey was a winner at Kentucky Downs recently, right?
Yes.
I mean, you know, I hear a lot of people talking about Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah.
Uh, Beer
Well, that's
Can
because
Man
they're
looks,
fans of that's because they're fans of a movie called Forrest Gump, which you may or may not have
yeah, I've
seen.
seen that. Yeah,
Lieutenant
yeah.
Dan was, of course, one of the characters in Forrest Gump, but no,
Right,
he's a
okay,
nice
so
horse. He's an
yeah,
improving nice horse.
Casa Creed,
Yeah,
maybe, but so
nice.
Extravagant
Casa
Kid is
Creed's gonna be in the mile, I think, Davey. It looks like.
yeah,
Wait,
exactly. All right, so he's
but
at
anyway,
a so I'm
yeah.
just curious. Yeah, so Extravagant Kid is he's had his mission in life and succeeded in Maidan, and that was great, but he's not good enough. So it could quite easily be your superfecta could be the €3 and Golden Pal.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, Paul Halloran, who's a great friend of mine, he's going to be on the show, folks. He's a viewer, but he's also a writer for the Saratoga Special. He's a
yeah,
journalist. He's a great handicapper. He'll be on the show handicapping with me on Tuesday, I believe. Yes.
yeah, yeah.
He mentioned the Euros. Yeah, Paul. 1 for 13 in the turf sprint, Davey. The only time they have won the turf
Yeah.
sprint was last year. So, but again, I'm just not blown away with the Americans this year. I'm really not.
Yeah, yeah,
So it'll be
yeah,
interesting to see what happens.
yeah. So yeah, I, yeah.
Okay.
I think you're onto something with that horse.
And
But
do you know what Amaratiana is in the market right now in the UK? Do you have that off the
yeah,
top of your head, or you just have a guess?
I, I was 13-2 when I last looked.
Oh wow, that's pretty low. It's lower than I thought.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you shortly.
So for
While you're
those of you
looking
that
at that.
are math challenged, I'm a math teacher. So obviously six that's 6.5 to 1, folks. So that's between 6 to 1, 7 to 1. But again, that's in the euro market. So you have to believe just because of the bias of Americans that I think the horse is going to go off bigger than that, Davey. I could
Yeah,
be wrong. We'll
exactly.
have to see.
Yeah,
I think that horse might be more like 11s or 10s on the day.
yeah. I mean, and Atzini did a spell in California too. He's raced over in. He's been based in Santa Anita. I must have raced at Del Mar, so he knows the track.
I'm sorry, who's that?
The Italian jockey Andrea Atzini.
He's going to ride, and he knows. Yes, he knows. Adzini's a great jockey, and he's ridden in California before. That's excuse me. That's a very good point to make.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, let's move on. Janet's got a quick point here. Am I excited about the turf pick four? Wow. Excuse me, Davey. There is a new pick four that they are introducing on Saturday at. I know you don't call it a pick four in Europe, but
yeah,
a four race horizontal bet sequence that the
yeah.
Breeders' Cup is introducing on Saturday only. It's basically
Oh,
the four races. Janet, there's so much betting going on
yeah,
Saturday. I don't know if I'm going to bet the turf pick four, but I will say it's a very interesting bet, and it'd be a very tough sequence to hit because the races we're about to talk about here in a minute are wide open.
right, right. Yeah, the Australians call that a quaddie.
A quaddy, yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
quaddie. Yeah. Okay.
Let's move on, folks. Again, I really appreciate everyone listening. We have a lot of people watching the show, and I know there's a ton of interest in all these Euros. And folks, you don't need to do your own handicapping. We're doing it for you right now.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
you gotta
yeah,
do is
yeah.
watch the HHH Racing podcast, take
Uh,
notes. You don't.
I'm sort of blind a bit, because I don't know jockeys and I don't know draws. So
Of
it's a
course,
tough.
we all are. Um, By the way,
Yeah,
folks, there are places. Sorry, let me take down this horse here before I jinx this horse and he doesn't break. Folks, there are places you can watch European replays other than YouTube. There's a lot of different sites. There's a Racing Post. There's a particular site that I found called Racing in Sports. Are you familiar with that site? Davey, it's called Racing in Sports. I found it's
yeah,
tremendous. It's
yeah,
free,
yeah,
like free replays. You know the site I'm talking about?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. So anyway, there's a lot of ways you can watch replays, folks, but we want to try to do some homework for you. All right, let's get on
Just
to
quickly, Emiratian has been pushed out by the bookies now, so you can get 8-1 at
beautiful.
Paddy Power, and 7-1 everywhere else.
Okay,
So
good.
that
What's
basically they're
pushing
trying
this
to
horse
entice
out?
people in. Yeah,
Yeah, let's just
That's it.
keep pushing this horse out. I'm interested in Maratiana. The horse has got to
Okay.
break though. The horse got to break. It can't be, 8 back at the stretch. It's just not going to win this
Adzini
thing.
will know that. He'll know that.
He'll know that. All right,
Yeah.
let's move on now, Davey. Perhaps one of the most exciting horses coming over. We're going to talk about the Turf Mile now. We're going to talk about the mile.
Oh,
The
here we go. Yeah.
mile has traditionally been a fantastic race for the Euros. There have been one of my favorite horses of all time, Davies Goldakova, who
Okay.
won this race 3 times. Davey, I mentioned on my show last night, and I mentioned before, Goldakova's first win at Santa Anita, where
Yeah.
she came up the rail and absolutely exploded. Was probably the fastest turn of foot, Davey. Literally, I think I've ever seen in any race ever. I
Yeah.
mean, for someone who wasn't overly familiar with a lot of European-based horses, in the early 2000s, was a good
Yeah.
15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
Goldakova blew my mind. I understand she was one of the best ever, but
Yeah.
man, the turn of foot of some of these Euros and these mile races, Davey, is very
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Now,
you know this.
but that being said, the story here are the horses that are not coming. Unfortunately, I would say Poetic Flair, Palace Pier, Baid are not coming.
I'm just getting a drink. So keep
Yes,
talking. Yeah.
please do. So again, I'll take a beer. You got what do you got? You got a Heineken. You got a what do you got there? I'll take a.
I got some Italian beer, but I can't. The
Oh
technology
man.
is.
Okay. Listen, Davey's high class, folks. I don't roll that way, but
Yeah. No,
Davey,
I'm
when
drinking Coke. I'm
and
drinking
Davey, I'm
Scarlet Coke.
saying when. Listen to my words. Not if, but when I come and visit you over in Europe, I'm going to try
Right.
some of that Italian beer. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
No
Nice.
worries.
All right. So listen,
Corona's on me.
let's
Yeah.
talk about the mile, and let's talk about two horses that are very interesting in the mile. You see them on the
Okay.
screen there, Space Blues and Pearls Galore. Now, these are two horses that are going to be a factor probably in the mile. Space Blues is the clear favorite right now and I'm sure the European anti-post betting and over here
Yeah.
in the States. Davey, I've seen it as low as like 8 to 5 on Space Blues right now. I'm not sure. I think he should be that low. But as I pull up a replay, talk a little bit about these two very good horses coming in for the mile.
Right. I don't see 8 to 5, but it's 5 to 2. Oh, and Pearls Galore. Pearls Galore is again an unfashionable Irish horse. It got a second. Um, it. I'm blanking right now, but it's where did it get a second?
Actually, we're
Most
going to
recent.
show that. We're going to show that replay. I don't.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Longchamp. I was there, of course. It was
Yes.
second. It was second in the foray, Longchamp, of
Yeah, we're
course.
going to show it. We're going to show it right now. Actually, sorry.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah,
And
yeah. I
and
mean,
Davey again. Davey was here for these races, guys.
yeah, yeah.
On
I
Art
was there.
Day. If you follow me
Yeah,
on Twitter, you might have seen him purchasing our ticket and a few great videos of Longchamp. Davey, really
yeah.
appreciate it. So anyway, so you saw these two horses run, and you were really
Right.
taken by
Really
Space
taken by
Blues, weren't
Space
you?
Blues. Yeah, I was most
Yeah.
taken. I think just I think probably after the race, just how alive the horse looked after the race. You know, when he sort of turned around and Buick milked the crowd and the horse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this horse looked like he was ready for another 7 furlongs. And I said to myself, Breeders' Cup right there. You know, this is the horse.
So
Uh,
let's talk about this race a little bit. So again, I made it full screen. You guys don't need to see us. I know you want to see the horses here. Space Blues is the 3 horse for in the Godolphin back here,
right,
and Pearls Galore, folks, is on the inside here in the orange and white. And again, the move that Space Blues makes, Davey, I mean, in
right.
person, had to be unbelievably impressive.
Yeah, it was like that Goldie Cova for you. I think when I saw it live, I was like, I bet the horse, you know. So I was excited. I mean, it was the getting out of jail bet, you know.
Sorry, Space Blues is the 5. Space Blues is going to be, sorry, right here. Go ahead. I
Yeah.
said the wrong
So
number.
right, yeah. So it's the Godolphin Blue, but
Yeah.
Buick knew he had the best horse, right? So he wasn't worried, and he knew he had a long stretch to deal with it. He knew a lot of the other horses wouldn't handle the ground. He knew his would, and
I
it
wanted to
just
say, he hasn't even been asking yet, Davey. I don't know if
no,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but these are things that I look at. I mean, this
yeah.
horse is moving up basically. Look at all these horses up front are like under the whip being asked. And
He's
really,
jog,
the jock hasn't
he's
even moved
jogging.
yet on this horse. I mean, it's
He's
unbelievable. He
he's
hasn't
jogging.
moved yet.
He just moved his nose out for a bit of space, and he's sort of still jogging, right? You know.
Yeah.
And you look at the actions of the two jockeys in the lead and the grey horse. I mean, their arms are flying around, they're moving around, and now he just glides by them.
I mean,
Look at that.
wow, that is just woof.
Woof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
woof. And there's again, listen, pearls galore. I'm gonna run it one more time so people can see this.
Yeah.
Pearls galore is right here. Gets the jump,
Yeah.
on. I mean, a clear jump. Let me back it up even
Yeah.
further here.
Right.
Again, pearls galore is more of a stocky type up close. I think I had her in the wrong spot. I'm sorry originally. Pearls galore is up here. I mean, this is a good what, 5, 6, 7 lengths already. That
Yeah.
Space Blues has the makeup going 7 furlong.
Yeah. And it did it easily. So I mean, I never saw Pearls Galore coming at all in this race,
Here's
so I
pearls
was a
galore
bit
right here. Yeah.
surprised. Yeah. Yeah. I won't be betting Pearls Galore at all at Del Mar. I mean,
No. Okay.
um,
You don't think she has a chance at all?
no, no. Uh, yeah, that was just easy. Pearls Galore will get swallowed up in the crowd at
Okay.
Del Mar. Yeah. And it's a lasher on the horses. They've made an announcement. It's going to the breeding shed. So this is the last race for the horse. Again,
I'm
it's
sorry. For
another
which one? For which horse?
Pearls Galore.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is again another sense of they're going to make money from the filly. They got the black type, off they go. And again, for me, that's something I like to. I don't like to go there. I don't like to play horses like that. It's a jolly for the ownership guys. And then some pocket money maybe as a thank you for the trainers. We'll go out to Del Mar. We'll get placed maybe, and you all have a nice day out. I don't think it's a serious win contender. I wouldn't use it. But Space Blues, I would. But then again, there's another angle with Space Blues. Uh, I don't know if folks remember the Flintshire Highland Reel Found race back in West Santa Anita, right?
Sure. I remember it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So,
Highland
you
Reel just
know,
went to Shamie Heffernan, I think, right? Just
right.
stole the
Okay.
race up
So,
front.
I think, I've got to, probably James Doyle gets to ride on Master of the Seas. Now, if he's gonna ride interference in the first race, the Master, the Modern Games race.
Yeah.
It is, and I think he's going to be doing a favour for Buick in the turf as well. Is he going to be thrown a bone? And maybe that this race will be a case of the American jockeys will be like Javier Castellano. They'll be looking at Buick, and they'll forget about James Doyle. I know the mile has a lot less time, maybe 50 seconds left for a lot of this types of musings and thinkings between the jockeys, but they may all be concentrating on Space Blues. And James Doyle could steal a race on Master of the Seas. This horse was
Well,
second in the Guineas. It's a serious horse,
this is the horse I like at a price. Shh.
Okay.
Stop talking him up. I'm just kidding. Look,
No,
let's talk about it right now. By the way, just one more quick Space Blues. Any concern at all about the extra distance going a
no,
mile? No concern at all. Okay,
no,
I
not
agree.
from not
But
from
why
being there
why have
because
they been only running him at 7 then? Why haven't they tried him a little longer?
uh, you, because that was a distance that he was. I don't think they thought he could go further than a mile, and they never really tried him at a mile. He was
Okay,
successful where he was, so
okay, no
that
problem.
that was it. Yeah,
My only
uh,
concern with Space Blues is being too far back. That's literally, and listen, it's gonna be a wide, it's gonna be a 12 horse field, Davy, on a tight turn. He needs a lot of luck, even if he's the tons the best, right? You still need a little racing luck. So,
yeah,
I would
but
not take Space Blues at a low price, folks. I would not, me personally, I would not. I'm not gonna bet Space Blues to win,
yeah,
Davy. I would not bet Space Blues at anything lower than fours in this
right,
race, which for you, of course, in the States, that means 3-1. So I would not take anything lower than 3-1 in Space Blues personally. Do you have any
right.
opinion on that before I move on to Master of the Seas?
Yeah, I already took 3-1.
But you didn't go lower than that, right? I mean, you
No,
wouldn't
I
go lower than
didn't.
that.
I
Ah,
took
that's
three to
great.
I took 3-1 because I thought it would be like 5-2 or something, or something 2-1.
Listen, if Space Blues blows by the field and wins by 2, that 3-1 is going to look fantastic. All right,
But
here's the
that's a
horse,
buy.
folks. Listen, I don't want to give away all my betting secrets for the BCBC. I know there's people watching. I'm just kidding. Everyone's got a zillion different bets going on. Listen, this is a horse I'm very interested in, Davey. I'll tell you right
Yeah,
now. Very
yeah,
interested. You've already mentioned why. I'm going to bring up a replay here. Master of the Seas is very mercurial. He's a little temperamental. He's had a little bit up and down season. Master of the Seas, boy, was he good in the spring, Davy. And the race that
yeah.
we're going to show, and I'm sure you know this race well.
right,
Sorry, this is the race against Poetic Flair
right,
in the Guineas, and he's going to be in blue. Let me go full screen here.
right.
Master
And
of the
this,
Seas. I know there's a lot of horses. If you look really carefully in the back, you see my arrow right below the Bet 365,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you'll see the whole race. This is Master of the Seas, who I don't know if he's gonna. I think he might have a little more tactical speed than Space Blues. I'm not really sure, but Poetic Flair was one of the best milers in the world this year. And
yeah.
Master of the Seas almost beat Poetic Flair early in the year. Talk a little more about Master of the Seas as we watch the replay, Davey.
Well, I'm just trying to remember what the betting was in this race at that time, and that
You
because I
see
don't
moving
think
up on the outside. Go ahead.
yeah, I don't think, yeah, I think it was more favoured than Poetic Fleur. I mean, I'll have to remember. I'm blocking what the
I
prices
think
were.
so. We'll talk about that on Wednesday.
Yeah, so Master of Seas wasn't favoured. I don't forget what, but he was a warm horse. I mean, people were interested in him. No one was interested in the Bulger horse at all, if I remember. Uh, so I personally was playing Lucky Vega. I finished third here, the Chinese owned horse. Yeah, that was trying to come through the middle. I was on that. So yeah, I mean,
Tough
three
beat.
good, yeah, tough beat, and three great horses. I think Lucky Vega was sold for stud in Australia like maybe 3 months ago, and
Okay.
the Poetic was just sold for stud in Japan like last week. You
Right.
know,
Right.
so he's the last one standing of that crop. Which, in essence, I mean, you can talk about who won it and who finished second and third, but they're all winners in some respects. They all basically came basically at the same time, and everyone else was nowhere, right? So I mean,
Yeah. Now,
and
Master
no
of the
one,
Seas, if I again, we're not going to go through details of the PPs, folks. We got other races to watch here, but
yeah,
Master of the Seas subsequently, I believe, don't quote me, but uh, was finished like third in a race, and then was off for a few months, and came back and didn't run great last time. But I think the turf was a little bit softer, and the horse was off a few months. So Davey, is this horse you think can be cranked? Do you have any intel? Give me some more convincing as why I should bet this horse. Or do you
yeah,
think he's
yeah.
really a wild card and he could finish last too?
I don't think he was. I don't think he was cranked, but I mean, he ran at Ascot, and it was good ground at Ascot for that time of year, but it still wasn't good some
Yeah.
good to firm ground. And if you look back, his best races are on good to firm in the high summer, aren't they? In April and May, when there
Yeah.
was good ground at Newmarket, good to firm at Newmarket twice. He
So
ran
you
at
give him
Meydan.
a legitimate chance in this race, correct?
Yeah, if I remember at Meydan, like back in February, he was a hot favorite, and he was the horse they were all talking about. He was like
Okay.
1-3 or something, and he lost to Naval Crown, and it was like unbelievable. And it was like,
Yeah.
oh, there was a real sort of sense of like, how did that lose? It was supposed to be the greatest horse from Godolphin ever, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I
maybe maybe it's still the player. So I think you're onto something. I mean, I'm keen on Space Blues, but I'm also keen on the game playing being on the game that might be played here. That maybe Space Blues has been the decoy, the dummy, and
huh.
Masters of these
Wow.
gets the second jockey, but the jockey is actually going to be doing a favor for Buick and Appleby in the other two races.
Boy, I tell you
So
what, it depends on what the odds are, but I see myself using Master of the Seas maybe in trifectas or some kind of play for sure. I'm very
yeah,
interested in that horse. Let's talk about we have. It's amazing we've talked all this time. We really haven't talked much about Aiden O'Brien. Now, Davey, we could
yeah,
talk forever. Again, we're getting up on 5:20, 6:20 Eastern time here, and
yeah.
I do need to end the show in about 25 minutes, so we're gonna have to move this along a little bit because we
Okay,
still have some real big names to discuss here.
okay,
We're both a little down on Aiden O'Brien. He's the big name, but you know what? There are a lot of other really good trainers in Europe, and he hasn't been as successful in the states as people think. A horse that he has coming over that I think is interesting is Mother Earth. We're going to show Mother Earth, and as you know, this was a very controversial race. We're going to show the matron. There was a big inquiry here. There was
yeah,
Pearls Galore was also in this race as I bring it up right now. Davey, Pearls Galore is who we've already seen, who I know you don't like, but Pearls
yeah.
Galore I think is the 4 horse there again in the orange, and you're going to see in behind you'll see Mother Earth having all sorts of trouble, and there's an inquiry in this race as I roll the tape.
Right, right. Yeah, I
There,
thought you were going. I thought you were going to bring up the Mother Earth's guineas. Hold on.
oh, sorry about that. This is one I
Yeah, no,
brought
no,
up.
no, 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 no. I'm just
Having
right.
had a lot of trouble. I mean, clearly, if you want to compare Mother Earth to Pearls Galore, again, Mother Earth is the 10. You'd have to say Mother Earth is definitely better than Pearls Galore based on this replay, Davey.
Yeah, yeah,
Look at the trouble here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to say it. Uh, I'm not convinced by Mother Earth. That being said, um,
Okay.
yeah, I'm just trying to remember when Dettori was up on the horse. I'm just trying to remember that was it. Well, am
Again,
I
I,
thinking of
I could
somebody
look up
else?
the PPs off screen.
Yeah, I mean, isn't
You
this?
have it in front of you, so go ahead if you
Yeah,
would.
no. It's the thousand. What was the thousand guineas? Right, it's the thousand guineas winner. I didn't like Mother Earth's win in that race in terms of the horse. I thought it was all down to what Dettori did in the race. Which was genius riding. He just pressed the button at the right time and so on and
Yeah.
so forth. So I think Santa Barbara was in that race as well. So the late Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
I've got a feel. I just did not. I ruled that horse out for the rest of the year because I put it down to just the one-off bit of jockeymanship and the way the rub of the green of the race and the horse
Hmm.
got it. So I'm not a fan. I think it's a sort of a
I
good O'Brien horse, but not a great horse, and I wouldn't be betting it.
I agree. Paul mentioned Aiden is 1 for 28 in this race. And how about this comment? If there's trouble to be found, wow, not a fan of Ryan Moore, apparently, Paul Halloran. Ouch.
Yeah,
Listen, I don't know how Ryan Moore is still viewed over in Europe. I think he's pretty damn good, but
yeah, I like him. So
I guess he does take some chances and waits very patiently.
yeah.
Similar to with Joel Rosario. And sometimes, listen, you're going to find trouble on turf sometimes if you're a
Well,
patient jockey, right?
put it this way: I've won more because of Ryan Moore than I have because of Howard Kravitz. So put it that.
Well, that's not saying much, but listen, fair enough. All right, let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah,
Again, we have
yeah,
a bunch of other horses that we want to talk about, and I personally know that I have literally half 25 minutes, and I have
yeah,
to go because I have a doctor's
yeah. And
appointment that I can't miss.
I
So,
have my bomb. I mean, everyone's been waiting for my bomb, and I haven't got to my bomb yet.
all right, I think it's coming next though, Davey. Would it
Okay.
be this horse right here? So, uh,
Yeah.
let's go, folks. We're going to talk about the Filly and Mare Turf. We're on to the Filly and Mare Turf now, and there's a horse that Davey. Listen, he gave us Rayshun,
Yeah.
at Royal Ascot at 60 to 1. You're not going to get 60 to 1 on Queen Supreme, but this is a
Yeah.
horse that Davey is convinced has a chance. We're going to bring up the paddock stakes that this
Yeah.
horse won that you wanted me to show. Talk
Right.
about Queen Supreme, Davey.
Okay. So this is a horse that's won two winning in races, the Paddock Stakes in Kenilworth in Cape Town. Both pretty well. I think the first one it came from a wide draw. Uh, Second race, I think it came from an inside draw. In both races, always quick away from the gate. I noticed that. It's in the Mary Slack colours. That's the
And the
Oppenheimer.
yellow right here, folks. The
Yeah,
yellow right
that,
there.
that's the Oppenheimer family. So that's the Diamond family, and Gary Barber, the South African in California. He's bought into the horse. The trainer of the time, Mike DeCock. I'm not sure if he's the trainer of record for the race or not. The horse has spent the summer in England, but so it has multiple owners, and that was it. If Group One and it won it easy. Look at that. Um, it's subsequent. Now people are down on it because it's subsequently raced in the big Cape Town race, the Met, which was a bit longer distance, and it did that twice. And once it was knocked around, and it was unlucky in that respect. Um, what I have to get people have been putting me off on the horse because they've said it was cross-entered for the mile and really this, that, and the rest. There's a race, and I probably should have given you that video. But there's three big races in South Africa, right? There's what they call the Durban July at Greyville. There's
Yeah.
the Met at Cape Town, and then there's the Summer Cup at Turfentine up in Johannesburg. Yeah.
Okay.
Now that horse has a 3-year-old finished in a bunch. It finished fourth, but it finished in a bunch as a 3-year-old against 4 and 5-year-olds carrying the same weight, and it was a mile two. So anyone who tells me that the horse doesn't get the distance needs to watch that other race at Turfentine where it lost
Okay.
to Zilzal, a 28-1 shot. So it can get the distance, and it can at the time showed it could carry It can carry lumps of weight in comparison to its elders and so on. So I'm not afraid about the distance for this horse. And I think this is the best Group 1 horse to come out of South Africa in a long, long time. And people have to believe that. I was expecting 16 to 1 tops, 20 to 1 maybe. It was 50 to 1 here in the UK. I mean, I've been betting it like I've been like one of those guys in the candy shop, you know.
Hands over fists, huh, on this horse.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah.
Davey, has the mortgage been paid? Because listen, it is a horse race. Sometimes I worry about you, Davey.
Yeah. No, listen, I think has a great chance, and I'm waiting for Murphy to get the ride, because Murphy the horse spent the summer with Balding, which is not insignificant, because Balding basically was the joint top trainer with Appleby. I mean, I think Appleby will win it because he has more ammunition, etc. But Balding is really on fire. The horse spent the summer there. It had a pipe cleaning race about 6 weeks, 7 or maybe 2 months ago. The Joel Stakes, the same day as some of these other horses ran, I think in early September. I'm blocking on the exact time, but it ran last. But it wasn't. It was only there just a bit of exercise. The horse had to have quarantine in Cape Town. It had to fly to Mauritius, and it had to stay in Mauritius for a couple of months, and then it had to fly to the UK. It's had a very arduous quarantine procedure to get itself to the Breeders' Cup. And I think it's been a relatively good summer in the UK in terms of the weather. It'll be fit now. It'll come over. It'll be underneath the radar. I think it will get the distance. It's a class Group 1 horse. I think it's a contender. I don't understand. I don't understand why there's no love. I mean, maybe that's it.
Listen, folks, listen. Who for me to doubt Davey? He's got a lot more intel on Queen Supreme. I'm sold. I'll be using her. She's going to be a price. It's going to be interesting. A horse that is very nice horse also, Rauger. We're going to quickly show the replay of Rauger. This is in the Prix de la Opera. This horse is going to be coming from way back. The 11 horses. I bring it up on screen here. Folks, I really hope you're enjoying the show. Please comment, by the way. Is this too much info? Are you really enjoying it? Etc. Give me some feedback so we know for future reference. I'm assuming we have a lot of viewers watching, and to me this is fascinating because again, it's great to be able to see these horses visual as opposed to just seeing on paper. Rauger here is the 11 horse coming from the clouds, winning impressively, Davey.
Yeah. Arc Day, heavy ground, and I'm thinking it's a heavy ground horse. And they're going there because they want. I mean, all its races about. I don't think it's ever seen firm ground. It hasn't. I mean, I'm just looking right now. It's he
hasn't. She hasn't. Look how far back she is. This is quite a move in the stretch here.
Yeah. So this is a softer heavy ground specialist who got lucky with the weather at Longchamp. I wouldn't be betting this horse at all.
Really?
No.
Well, if they think that's the horse, then why are they sending her over where it's really firm?
Well, you get a bit of momentum. It's a relatively unknown trainer, I think, from the south of France. Southeast. I'm not sure exactly, but he's not one of the big time Chantilly trainers.
You're against Rauger, just for the record.
Yeah, I'm against. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I'm glad that we got that info. Two other horses, and I got to say, horses I'm against in this race completely against these two for different reasons. Love, who Davey has talked to me extensively off air, how she is going to this race that it looks like, and Adara, who I had last year at 18 to 1 as one of my horses, who did win last year the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare, not quite coming up to as good form as last year. And Love, I'm just not so sure about. Talk about these two, Davey.
Well, just first on Love, I mean, the UK racing media reported yesterday Love was coming to the Fillies and Mares, and La Gioconda was going to be the rabbit. And that the horse got scratched a couple of hours ago. I don't know if you know that or not.
Oh wait, who got scratched?
Yeah, La Gioconda got scratched.
That was you said that was going to be the rabbit, as you said.
Well, so maybe
what does that mean to you?
That means two things. Either they think there's enough pace in the race and it doesn't need to be there, or it did get a niggle and it couldn't come, or they've changed their mind and they've decided that there's enough pace in the big race and they're going to stick with that. I don't know. You can never really, it got reported not from me, not from an insider. It got reported on the media over here that horse was running in the Fillies and Mares, and I'm sure that's still the case. But technically, its first preference is listed at the turf. So I wouldn't be betting anti-post one way or the other until I see the horse,
Okay.
But
Logiconda, if I'm sorry,
yeah,
Logicon being out
yeah,
of that race
yeah.
will affect the pace of the Filly Mare Turf for sure. You would
Oh,
think, right?
yeah, definitely, yeah,
Okay. So that
yeah.
that will
So
favor more speed, which might hurt a horse like Rauger. How will that affect Queen Supreme
Queen
if it's a
Supreme
slower
break.
pace?
Well, it depends on the draw, but Queen Supreme breaks sharply in all her races.
Okay.
It won't have a problem. That's one of the reasons I like her. Is if you watch the
Okay.
races, always breaks sharply. So I'm just curious about the jockey for Queen Supreme. Maybe there's a South African rider they'll bring over, like Anton Marcos or someone. I think he's ridden the horse once. That would be great. I don't know. I'm guessing Murphy gets the ride, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe they throw an American on her, like Pratt or somebody. Let me look at the.
Okay,
Let
so
me
as
look.
he's looking it up, this is the race we're going to watch here. Uh, this is the Blandford Stakes. This is where Love. This is a Group Two. This is
Yeah,
Love, who's in the orange and blue here on
yeah,
lead. And this is a Group Two. This is why I'm a little bit shaky on Love because this is a race you would have thought that Love was going to win and gets
right.
run down by Le Petit Coco, who I would say
Yeah,
would not have been a threat in this race if she came over. As I go ahead and
right.
run the
Yeah,
video here of Love on the inside getting run down.
right. Yeah, and it shouldn't have got run down. It should have just been winning this race by a couple of lengths easily. Maybe Moore was thinking he had it won and he wasn't expecting. But that was on good ground. But the horse is
But
best on firm. It's best on firm ground. So
I need to
despite
bring
me
that
not,
back. Idira, by the way, was in that race and finished fourth. Let me run it again.
yeah,
Idira is right here, folks, in the sort of purple. Again, this is the horse that won the Breeders' Cup last year. I'll run it one more time. Again, Idira is right there in the back there.
right, right. I
Um,
mean, and I think if I remember that race, I mean, no, Adara wasn't in that race, was it?
oh no, I
No,
could be.
no, yeah, no, it wasn't in
I
that
wrote
race.
down that Idira was fourth. Okay, maybe not.
No, no, maybe
I,
not. No,
I
no.
could be wrong.
So
You know what? Idira was fourth in the Prix de l'Opera, right?
right, right, and
I'm sorry. I'm going to go back. Oh, you know what? I don't have that race anymore.
yeah,
That's all
yeah.
right.
But
Well, Idira
it
got
looked like
beat by Rauger, who Davey doesn't like. That's all you folks need to know, basically.
right,
So,
and Adara was like looking like the winner in Paris, and then it just didn't have anything in the last half a
yeah, I
furlong, right?
apologize, guys. Idira was on the inside. If you want to watch the replay again, I don't have it anymore. But if you want to watch the Prix de l'Opera, Idira was on the inside and gave it up pretty badly in this stretch. I don't think, by the way, the race last year, the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf last year, Davey was a mile and 3/16.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
race this year is a mile and 3/8. So it's another, 3/16 of a mile. So more than another. It's a furlong and a half longer. I don't think that helps Adara at all, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
Okay.
Likewise, the horse
All right.
does get Buick though, so he knows his way around there. So
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
move
Let's
on.
move on, folks.
Yeah,
By the way, Warlike Goddess is a very nice American horse that could just win that race. It'll be interesting to see. I think the
uh,
Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, Davy, might be one of the most wide open races of the entire weekend. I mean, I don't think there's a Euro that stands out. I don't. A Warlike
yeah,
Goddess is good. I'm not really
yeah,
sure how good she is. We're gonna find
yeah,
out. That's gonna be a great race. And
yeah,
Queen Supreme might be the right animal to get up at like 25 to 1. That
yeah,
would be unbelievable.
yeah. That's my thinking. Yeah,
All right.
that's my official bomb, folks. So there you go.
There it is, guys. You heard it right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Alex Roth mentioned. Sorry, I'm not sure who you're talking about, Alex. I apologize. I think Ryan Moore is who he's talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. Mike, really appreciate it. Thank you. Jimmy's here tonight. Jimmy, really appreciate you always. David's learning a lot. Listen, again, David, there's a lot of American bettors who are smart, but we don't know some of these Euros. So I really
yeah,
think we're doing a great service to everyone. Let's move
yeah,
on to actually there's one more horse we got to watch for the Philly and Mare. I apologize. And this is
yeah.
a horse that really
The
needs mention.
Japanese.
Yeah, absolutely. I know short shrift. I apologize. Again, folks, I'm running a little bit out of steam. We got 20 more minutes. I promise. We're going 20 more minutes, and so we got 20 more minutes, Dave, to go through the Love's Only You, and then and then the Breeders' Cup Turf. So Love's
Right.
Only You, folks. This is a fascinating horse. I'm going to steal Davey's thunder a little bit here.
Yeah,
Fascinating horse coming from Japan. This is Japan's best hope by far this year in the Breeders' Cup. I would argue the best horse that Japan has ever sent over for the Breeders' Cup, or one of the top ones. She's well fancied in Europe. She has a very big shot. We're going to show the replay. Love's Only You was really good in the spring. My concern, Davey, here is that Love's Only You might have been better in the spring as opposed to now. As I bring up, we're going to watch the race that she ran. She ran a huge race in Dubai. She ran against Mishrif, one of my sons. Love's Only You, you're going to see coming from the back in green. Talk about Love's Only You, Davey.
Right. This is a deep impact horse. On the dam side, there's a storm cat in there. So I mean, this could have a set. This could have a. I always look for the storm cats. For the Secretariat heart. I mean, always looking for the
Of
extra,
course,
the
right here
extra
in between
pump.
horses.
Yeah, right here between horses.
Mishrif's on the outside here.
Yeah, right. It could have, if the jockey would want this race back. I think. I mean, this really. I think the other Japanese horse put this horse off, and I think otherwise he beats Mishrif. She beats Mishrif.
And that other
I
horse,
think,
by the way, is Chronogenesis, a very nice horse.
right. Yeah,
From
a good horse
Japan.
too. Yeah, I
Now,
mean, ran in the Arc, right? I mean,
yes. Now,
so
Japan, Love's Only You. Here's my only concern, Davey. And again, we're going to move on. But just for you folks at home, please watch our Wednesday show. We'll go into details about the Breeders' Cup Turf. Love's Only You has had a lot of stops and starts, Davey. She was off for a few months. Now she's
yeah,
off for like a few months again.
right.
Based on her form, she's not great on layoffs. This is
Yeah,
the kind of horse I really want to bet. But I have a
yeah.
feeling, Davey, she might be over bet. Just general feeling on Love's Only You. I mean, she can win the race, but you
I
would need a
think.
price on her, right?
Yeah, I think she's like 6, 7, 8 to 1, depending on the bookie you go to, and I'm not sure what she's going to be in the state. She might be overbet, but she might be ignored. I mean, she might drift up to tens and stuff, and then she may be worth a bet. Um, you look through the form, and I mean, she's been in all the big races in Japan. I think she was third in the what was it, the Guineas, the Japanese
Yes.
when she was younger, right? So
Right.
yeah, I'm not. It's the best horse that's come for the Breeders' Cup. But if it was the best horse in Japan, again, it wouldn't be here. That's one of the sad things about it. Again, we're getting
Yeah.
horses coming, but we're not necessarily getting the top tier horses. So it's coming here because maybe it's getting easier race.
Yeah. Well, listen. I mean, again, there's no superstars in this race, so we'll have to see.
Right?
All right,
Yeah,
Davey,
it's
we're
getting
gonna
an
end the
easier race.
show. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it's getting an easier race than it would if it ran in a similar type of Group One in Japan right now. I mean, it would.
Yeah.
It wouldn't win.
All right, Davey froze up. I'm sure he'll come back here in a minute, folks. We're gonna end the show with the penultimate race
Six.
of. Yeah, sorry, you
5-year-old.
broke up there for a second. We're gonna end
Yeah,
the
it's
race. We're gonna end the show with the penultimate race of the day on Saturday. This is the featured turf race of the entire weekend. As I take love, this is the Breeders' Cup Turf, folks. It's a fantastic race. I want to show just a few replays for this race, and we'll talk more on Wednesday at 8 p.m. here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Let's first talk about the favorite in this race, Tarnawa. Tarnawa is a very nice horse.
yeah,
This is a male 5-year-old, I believe, sorry, a female. I think
female,
she's
yeah,
5, if I recall. Now
right,
taking on the boys again. She won for me personally, and a lot of people at 9-2 last year. I liked her last year,
yeah,
Davey, for the exact reason why I have you on today. I watched
yeah,
a lot of replays last year. Listen,
yeah,
I'm going to be wrong plenty of times at the Breeders' Cup
yeah,
with these Euros. It's a
yeah,
guessing game, but I loved the way Tarnawa quickened last year. And
yeah,
I've heard some people think maybe Tarnawa is not quite the same as last year. I gotta tell you, maybe, but like maybe by this much. I mean, I think Tarnawa, if she runs her race, Davey, I think they're all running for second. And with all due respect to Domestic Spending, who is a
yeah.
very nice American horse here,
Yeah.
I just think Tarnawa is the class of this field.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if Tanawa and Sumion had actually seen Taquata Tasso on the outside, like I think the horse would have regrouped and put an extra kick in and done something about it.
And Tarnawa's on the inside here. I know you personally, you and I both probably wanted this horse to get up for reasons that you and I know that we won't talk about. But Tarnawa here is in the green on the
Yeah, yeah,
inside. The big
yeah,
long shot German who won the race, I think, is coming here on the
yeah,
outside, who is a horse we need to talk about because this
yeah.
horse is going to be mentioned in a few other replays we're about to see. But
Right.
again, this was listed as what good, but it was much more on the softer side.
It was a
Dermot
torrential
Weld is
rainstorm.
listen. Dermot Weld is already sort of. I got to be honest, sounds a little bit of a whiner to me. He's already
Yeah,
said, well, it might be too firm. And listen, do you want it firm or do you not want it firm? I mean,
yeah,
I know Tarnawa's not have never run on probably as firm a course as she's going to run at Del Mar, but I,
yeah,
I got to think the turf is going to be absolutely fine for Tarnawa at Del Mar
yeah,
as I run the
yeah.
tape on the
Yeah.
inside in green.
Yeah, he's a bit of a pessimist. I mean, which is strange because he optimistically, broke new ground by traveling his horses around the world to places no one from the UK and Ireland had ever been before: Australia, Hong Kong, and the US, the Belmont, and so on. Yeah, I mean, this horse wins this race if the horse actually gets to see the other horse. I mean, I think so.
Okay.
So, yeah, yeah. So, and I'm not worried about the firm ground, and I think you have to, but are you going to bet this horse to win this race at 6-4 or something like this? Not really, right? I mean,
No,
you know,
I'm not going to bet her to win, but I could definitely single her in a pick four or pick five, a horizontal bet, because to me, it's probably a two-horse race between her, and domestic spending, probably. But there are some
right?
other Euros I'm interested in. We're going to move on. One, I
Yeah,
think you sort of sold me on a horse here, a horse
yeah,
that won the German Derby, and
right.
this horse's name is Sisfahan, a
Yeah,
big strapping horse. We're going to
yeah,
watch the German Derby. This was quite impressive, I must say.
yeah,
Sisfahan is going to be coming on the stand side in the pink and
yeah. Very, yeah,
green from very far back. As I bring up
right.
the replay, talk up to people about Sisfahan.
Well, I mean, this is collateral form through the winner of the Arc. Not in this race because it's a younger horse, but this is a horse that was literally a half a length behind Taquata Tosso, or a length behind Taquata Tosso in a Group One at Baden Baden
We're going to
this
show
year.
that
So,
race next, Davey.
yeah, we're going to show that next. You
Yeah,
can see him on the
here, right
outside
here,
now.
all the way here is Sisfahan.
Right. So, way out on the outside in the German derby, and it's Starker, the jockey, top jockey. You know, that's brave move to come out to the rail out here. It's the kind of thing that only I often see Christoph Sumion doing is, to make a move wide, to go out wide like that. You know, and win. I mean, that horse is isolated, and it won pretty well there. Really, there's a good length in that. I think, right
I mean, I'm
up
not
the
sure the
line.
competition. Again, it was restricted for 3-year-olds, but just
Well, the German
visually,
Derby is a
Davey,
good
that looked
race.
pretty good visually to
Yeah,
me.
visually for me too. I mean, the previous year I bet to Quattro Tosso in the German Derby itself, largely because an English jockey called Jack Mitchell, a young up and coming jockey, was booked for the ride, and I'm like, what's going on here? It was like 50-1 or something. I bet it hard, and I was so regret not betting it each way. I only bet it to win. You finish second, this kind of thing. So I wouldn't underestimate the German Derby or the German form. And on a line through the winner of the Arc, which is a horse that was close to Tanawa, this horse has to be live, right?
I mean,
Has to
I
be.
don't. I think Sisfahan is interesting, and you just talked. You mentioned the Baden race. This is a great race to watch. I'm gonna pull it up right now because there are several horses in this race that are in the Breeders' Cup. I'm gonna bring it up right now. Sorry, I'm just talking. If you have
Yeah.
any information about that race in particular, as I bring it up.
Well, I'm not sure who else was in it, but who's right?
So
Who's right?
so this is Walton Street right here, who is also in this race. I'm 99% positive. This is Walton
No,
Street right here in the blue, and
at
then you're
Baden.
also going to have Sisfahan. I
No, that's
believe it.
that's not Walton Street. I think that's another horse, Passion and Glory. I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I wrong
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a slight error, but it's basically you forget about the blue horse, which is it's a side bien Siro horse. But
This is
if you look up
Sisfahan right here. This is the horse that won the Arc, correct?
right, exactly. So
Okay.
if you run this through, I mean, this is the horse that won the Arc a month later, and this looks like this is pretty much good to soft, but it looks a bit better than good to soft. Looks pretty okay. Yeah, these are, look at this. And this is a horse that's 3 years of age,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Look,
And basically, he was
I
getting it
talk
too
about the
far.
transitive property because I'm a math teacher, which is if you're
Yeah.
not familiar with that, Davey, if horse A beats horse B and horse
Yeah.
B beats horse C, that means horse A can beat horse C.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, but listen, Here's Sisfahan right here, a length
Yeah,
off of the arc winner who beat Tarnawa. So,
right.
I mean, just on that alone, again, it doesn't guarantee anything. Why
Yeah.
doesn't Sisfahan fit in this race at a much bigger price?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was getting £7 there, but I think in the UK it's 12 or 16 to 1. But it's a live horse. It's definitely, it has to be included in tries and supers.
Yeah, I'm very interested in Sisfahan, guys. Again, I have to see how the horse travels and make sure he looks good at Del Mar. But Sisfahan for me, folks, in the turf is very interesting. Last
Yeah,
horse we're gonna look at by with a replay, and then we'll very briefly touch on two others. This
yeah,
is a horse, Dave. This is the other one I'm interested in, other than Ternawa.
right,
Tiona. Tiona is a 3-year-old filly. This is a
right,
3-year-old filly who's being sent to the turf. She's a little bit slow on the numbers, but
right.
she is improving very quickly. And she beat Snowfall last time at Longchamp. Talk about Tiona.
Well, beating, if you talked to me in September, I'd have been more excited. But Snowfall really has seemed to have gone backwards. So I'm not really
Okay.
sure what the form of that race is. And if you're talking about 3-year-old fillies, well, she's half the price of what the German one is. I prefer the German one. I'm not
Here,
against it.
Tiona's on the inside, by the way, about to wedge right there. She has wedged her way through. Right
Yeah,
here is
yeah,
Tiona.
yeah, yeah. I'm not against. I'm not against, but I prefer the Godolphin horse Yabir over Tiona. If
Oh,
you want to look at English horses, yeah, yeah,
really? Okay, that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. But
What I do like about Tiona is that she seems more tactical, Davey. I think she's not going to be that far back,
yeah,
while some of
yeah,
these others like Six Vahan might be a lot further back in a race that we're not sure about the pace developing. So I think if you
right.
want to, folks, if you want a horse that's going to be a little bit up closer, I think Tiona. Not saying she's going to be on the lead, but wouldn't you agree that Tiona might be a little more tactical pace
The
wise?
firm ground. The trainer has talked about firm ground all year, so this is the key
Okay,
for this horse, and this is why they're at
okay,
it. This is why they're at Del Mar, and that might be the difference. But from a price point of view, the German horse is twice the price, and they're roughly
okay.
comparable in my book.
All
So
right,
with a
so
bit of luck,
so
yeah.
we have one again. We got time for quick comments here. Block Party, thank you very much. Tarnawa has been flat this year. Boy, I don't really know what you mean by flat. I mean, I think she's been pretty. I think she's been pretty good. Block Party. What do you think
Yeah.
about his question there? 2-1, 3-1. What price would you take on Tarnawa, Davey? How low would you go
Uh,
on the win end
I
of the
would
market?
probably, yeah, 15 to 8 or something like this.
No, I mean
Yeah,
you'd go 2-1 on this horse. You'd bet him two
yeah,
to one. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you sort of disagree with Block Party then the question. You think clearly
No,
she's the one to beat.
yeah, she is definitely the one to beat for sure.
Okay, no problem. Paul Halloran again, appreciate it. He's probably got to go. So folks, we are almost done. We're just gonna. There's no more replays to show. Woo!
Right.
How about that? That I'm gonna give myself. Wow, that was a lot to watch there. Hopefully you guys
Yeah,
enjoyed that. Very quickly, Davey, Walton
yeah.
Street and Yabir. 1 minute on Walton Street, please.
Yeah, Walton Street. I backed Walton Street anti-post for the Melbourne Cup about 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. I forget when, but this was considered a cups horse, which is what the Americans call a marathon horse. It's not really this middle distance horse. It's got good figures from Woodbine and so on, and
Yeah.
it's done well. But it's here as a quote unquote rabbit, isn't it? For your beer, I think
Oh,
this
I
is
don't know
it's
about.
not a
I gotta
rabbit.
respectfully disagree. I'm not sure that the horse is here for a rabbit, but Walton
No, no,
Street to me
I'm
seems.
using the term incorrectly. I think it's going to make the pace, maybe not a rabbit, but it's going to make the
Okay.
pace because your beer has a good strong kick at the end, and I
Okay.
don't think it's here to win.
Yeah, Walton Street ran a 110 buyer at Woodbine, but folks, the course, the Woodbine's turf compared to Del Mar is like night and day. And Walton Street is the kind of horse day that I was talking about earlier in the show. Seems
Yeah,
very one pace, very grindy.
yeah, yeah,
Probably
yeah,
wants to go longer. Would love like a course like Belmont would be great for Walton Street. I don't think this course fits Walton Street at all. And then you also
yeah,
mentioned Yabir, the last horse. This is a 3-year-old who won very nicely at Belmont.
yeah,
He has probably, well, definitely has more upside than Walton Street because Walton Street's a
right,
7-year-old. I don't think Ubir is good enough to win this race, but
right.
maybe underneath would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's final sectional at Belmont was very fast, right? Or am I
It
forgetting?
was in a wide sweeping like four wide move and blew by the field, but I'm not sure where
Right.
that field was.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure how. Yeah, but that again underneath maybe. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Listen,
But
Davey,
I
we've got
wouldn't play
about
one.
yeah, we've got about 2 more minutes. We're going to wrap up the show. We have so many great comments from people that are really appreciating. I got a feeling this is going to be one of the most watched shows that I've had on my podcast since January, and it should be. And I'm not saying that for selfish reasons. I'm saying that because if you folks want to be successful at Breeders' Cup, you got to watch. So just in conclusion, your sort of big price plays would be Queen Supreme in the Philly Mare Turf, and it would
Yeah,
be Sisfahan in the Turf on Saturday, and you like Space Blues quite a bit. We both also like Master of the Seas in the
right,
mile a little bit. And then on
right.
Friday, is there a juvenile that you want to keep our eye on in the Friday races we talked about?
Yeah, I'm just looking back. I agree with you about Hello You being a good price.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry, Amarati Anna also maybe in the sprint on Saturday, and then
yeah,
Friday, you saw Miss Unseen. Hello, you maybe.
yeah,
We'll have to see about
yeah.
Friday.
Very, very difficult. But again, I look back and I do like the South African horse a lot, and I'm surprised it's the price it is. It's 40 to 1 in the UK at the moment, not
Man,
50 anymore. But yeah,
well,
I think we've covered it.
I think we have.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Listen,
I'm just yeah, that's it.
Davy Lane, man, if I could hug you right now, I'd give you a big hug.
All
I
right.
really hope to meet you in person. I know that you have some family here in the States. Maybe you'll be here at some point,
Yeah,
and I'll be over there at some point. But
yeah.
all of the viewers, really appreciate you, Davy, coming on. I want to wish you good luck in the Breeders' Cup. I want to wish everyone at home in the Breeders' Cup. Any closing thoughts, Davy, as we end the show?
Don't be afraid to bet a horse that no one is talking about. A lot of the professionals, a lot of people, you can often hear them musing about what's going to win this, that, and the rest, and they're not talking about the horse that wins. I mean, so don't go with your own gut, go with what you think, and do the research. I've done the research on the South African horse, and I was impressed. And then I scratched a bit more and I'm like, hold on a minute, that race, its last race as a 3-year-old, he carried the same weight as all the 5 and 4-year-olds, and it went 1 mile and 2 furlongs. So bang, this is, so you have to go into you have to do the work. You can't just sort of, glance at things, so you have
Davy
to have a
Lane,
reason. All
yeah,
right.
Davey from the UK. Thanks a lot, sir. Really appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you over the next week and a half. Good luck to you in the Breeders' Cup. I'm going to leave you on screen as we end the show. Thanks again, of course, for everyone watching. This has been the HHH Racing Podcast, episode 90. As you can see on the screen, next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, talking details about the Friday and Saturday races at Del Mar with handicapping special guests, jockeys coming on. It's going to be fantastic. For Davy Lane, this has been Howard Kravitz, episode 90, HHH Racing Podcast Euro Special. Good luck to everyone. We hope to see you next week. Take
Good
care
night.
and good
Good
night.
night and good luck. Thank you.